Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. But certainly good evening from where we are here in a bleak, cold England. Certainly where I am anyway, in South Yorkshire. So yes, welcome to everybody. Welcome to Heather Green. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being with us. And don't forget, everybody, while you're here, make sure you pop your name up. Make sure you say hello to us so that I can shout out and say hello to you. Because where I am, I can't see who's on the screen unless you talk to me. So yeah, it's great. Happy New Year as well. This is my first live event with SPTV, and it's always a pleasure to be back. It's always a pleasure to be here with Richard and the team and everybody else. So yes, so thank you to Limo. Am I saying this correctly? Limo Dipino. Am I saying that correctly? I hope I am anyway. So yeah, fabulous. What a name. Love it. Hello, dears. Hello to you as well. I see that. Hello, dears. And straight away I think of Mrs. Doubtfire. For anybody who's got the film. Um, Natalie Bentley, good evening. You see what I mean? Yeah, Natalie Bentley, good evening. Yeah, so I love that picture of your dog as well. Julie's here as well, fabulous. And Julie, anybody who was with us last night and who managed to get into the actual Zoom room. Julie's one of my students, and she did a phenomenal job along with Claire Quadling as well. They did a joint demonstration, which was fabulous. So yes, Esley, hello to you. Good evening. Suzanne Riches, hello to you. Fabulous. Keep on talking to us, everybody. It's nice to be here, like I say. Christine, was that Christine? I think it was. As well, yes, Christine Davies, hello to you. So yes, everybody that's with us, again, as I say hello, and feel free to share it out as well, because of course, for anybody that may be new to SPTV, it's a fabulous channel that is up and running pretty much every day of the year. There's so many fantastic presenters on here, mediums, healers, trance mediums. There's so many people that have a wide variety of knowledge who come on daily to share their expertise and that wealth of knowledge. So, and if you haven't already, make sure you like the page, subscribe to the channels and everything, because honestly, there's so much on here as well. And I only pop in, you know, throughout the year every so often. So for me, it's always a pleasure to be up and on board. Paul Edwins, good evening. Hope you are well. So, whilst everybody's coming on and joining us, this is the opportunity to throw some questions at me, everybody. So get doing that as well. And I'll sort of explain who I am for those of you that perhaps don't know or haven't heard me and looking at me thinking, who's this bloke who's got a funny accent? So yeah, for those of you who do know me, it's great to see you again. Those of you that don't, my name's Craig Morris, and I've been a spiritual medium. Blimey, I've lost count now for well over a decade, and I have the pleasure of serving so many different spiritualist churches and centres, in person and virtual, of course. Since that dreaded lockdown that we all had, online has become a thing, and I think it's here to stay. I really do think it's here to stay, and it's fabulous because we get to reach people all over the world. It's brilliant. So yeah, I do private readings, I teach, I write as well. So there's just so much, because there's so much for us to do in what we do in this subject matter. So yes, there we go. Adam. Hello, Joanne, by the way. I've just missed that one. Let's come back up. So let's see. Oh, hang on, that one's gone off. That one. There we go. Adam, Ashley. For years, I've been seeing and hearing someone. That's just gone off my screen again. There we go. That no one else could see. Could this be spirit or a spirit guide? Absolutely. Funnily enough, so I'm sure there's lots of people that are on tonight that will be able to relate to this. But yes, absolutely. So again, the conversation I was having yesterday, funnily enough, with somebody, another medium, who, when they were younger, they were having things, you know, they were seeing people from the spirit world who they knew had passed, but it was their loved ones around them saying, no, that's that's ineffectively not normal because they've passed, they're dead, they're not here. So how is it that you know about them and things like that? So yeah, 100%. It could be a communicator from the spirit world, and certainly could be a guide. There's no reason why it couldn't be, but certainly from my experience, and for those of you who don't know or haven't seen me talk or teach or work before, I can only ever teach by my own experiences. And when I was a kid, I always explain I was probably about 4, 5, maybe 6 years old, and I always used to see my nan. You may see her just behind me there, but I didn't know at the time. I used to think, literally, used to think I was sleepwalking, dreaming, and then it was only when we started looking at photos, because I never got to meet my nan, by the way. It was only when I got to start looking at photos of my nan, I was like, that's the lady that I've been seeing. And she always, the way that I always used to see her was stood next to my brother when he was in bed of a night. And yeah, so absolutely. And what I would also say to you, Adam, is maybe make it, whether it's a mental note or an actual physical note of when it happens, the date, the time, and things like that, because the spirit world are a world of intelligence, and whether or not it's something you recognize, something yeah. And when it comes to the hearing as well, that for me is brilliant, because not everybody gets to hear as such. So that's brilliant. But yeah, keep on going. Just remember you're not mental, by the way, because some people think that they are when this happens. So you're not. So yes, Shelley, good evening. I love that. I'm nicking that, by the way. Hello, Richard and Craig and Richard, and anyone who thinks I'm beautiful. I'm nicking that, Shelley, because I like that. That's brilliant. So yeah. So again, folks, if anybody has any more questions, please feel free. Kerry Thorley, good evening to you, by the way. Can you give me any advice on connecting with my spirit guides, please? Can the time it takes vary among people? One thing I would say, and this is something that generally gets brought up in workshops when I'm teaching, people often talk about their spirit guides, and we've all got guides, it's that simple. And there are mediums who will turn around and say they know exactly who their guides are, know where they're from, their story. I mean, I've got a friend who's a medium, and he knows all the details about his spirit guide, and even has the records to his spirit guide as well. So, but I know one or two of my guides, but I don't know an in-depth amount of them. So the first thing I will say to you is don't worry too much about it, because the way that I like to describe it, and again, there might be other people that are out there think, no, I disagree with you, and that's absolutely fine. But this is my take on it. It's like when you get on board an aeroplane to go on holiday, and you turn right, you go to your seat, you take a seat, you sit down, ready to go. You're putting your trust and your faith into those pilots that are flying that aeroplane. Now, you don't know them from Adam, but you're just trusting and hoping, with the belief that they are completely trained, they know what they're doing, and just let them get on with their job. And they do it. You take off, you get up there, you land, and you're on holiday. Done. So you're happy. So look at it from that perspective as well. That's the other thing. Because I think we can get too et up on trying to find out who our guides are. And because remember as well, I very much believe we have more than one guide, because when you're getting a communicator that's coming through that's perhaps either taken their own life, or a communicator that's been or had their life taken, you may get different guides for different communicators, if that makes sense. So that's the other thing. But one thing I will say to you is, Kerry, and to anybody else that may find this of interest, years ago, what I did do was head over to YouTube, and there are plenty of guided meditations where you can actually go and meet your guides. And I actually did a Tony Stockwell one, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and that is actually where I met my first guide. And it was such a moving experience. It really was. And ever since that, now what I tend to do when I want to connect to them, apart from when I work, I generally just to go and sit in the quiet, light a candle, bit of quiet, tranquil music that plays, and I just set my intentions and say, right, come close and allow me to feel that energy and draw close, so that we can connect and link, so that I can learn. So that's the other thing that I would say as well. um, that's a great way of looking at it. I feel a young girl. My mum tells me stories about having an imaginary friend, and I was very attached to. Yeah, again, you know what? And I'm sure there are many mediums that are out there, and not even just mediums, but people who are very much aware as well, and sensitive to the spirit world, that have had that happen. And it's not the first time I've heard it, I've got to tell you, and it probably won't be the last either. So, you know, it's just one of those things. But yeah, that's the way I would look at that anyway. Deb Clark, agree, Craig, regarding you guys. Thank you very yeah, you know, again, and this is what I always say, and this is the one thing I love about this channel, is that even though there are so many different mediums, and we've all got our own experiences, we've all got our own ways of working, you know, we are allowed to disagree. We are allowed to say, actually, don't agree with that, or you know, we can say, yeah, I agree with that. But the other thing is, as well, by listening to one another, you actually get the opportunity to expand your own mind and your own awareness as well. That's the important thing. So that's me anyway. I might be waffling there, but that's certainly how my approach to that anyhow. So yes. Um, that's all right. No worries, no worries. So, oh, I like this question. It's coming up now. Kerry Setchell, good evening. Welcome. Um, so my question to Craig is, when a soul passes, how long does it take for their spirit to show? So I love this because there are a couple of ways of looking at this. So for me, a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, I was doing a private reading for somebody in Stafford, and it was probably around about 8:30 at night, and the lady that sat in front of me, I believe it was her auntie, if I remember correctly. Her auntie connected and came through amongst other people, and towards the end of the sitting, the lady in front of me, the sitter, asked, Craig, would you be able to tell me when this lady passed? You know, are we talking, you know, recently? Are we talking years ago? And that was me thinking, oh, I wonder if that's because she's torn between the maybe two aunties. So I said to her, I've got to tell you, this feels really recent, and you know, very recent. And she went, absolutely. She passed away at 10:30 this morning. So that was on the same day. Now that's a rarity. That doesn't happen that often, for me anyway. I'm sure it's happened for many other mediums out there, but for me, that was very much a moving experience. It really, really was, and so to answer the question, but I'm going to give one other quick example because it may spark up a few other questions as well. It's always good for me to get other people's perspectives on it. But so for me, I don't think it really takes a massive amount of time. There are people that may say, oh, it's got to take, you know, it will take so many months or what have you. I don't believe that it does. At the end of the day, once we've passed, you know, our loved ones are there to greet us that have already gone before us. And this is the way that I like to look at it. It's the holiday analogy, as I've written about it in my book there. You know, what you've done is you have your loved ones passed away, and instead of looking at it like that, what you do is you've taken them to the airport, you've watched them take off, they've got to the other end, they've been met by other loved ones that are there, and all of a sudden you're sat down with a medium in hope you're going to connect to them. And what they're doing is, on that holiday, they've called up through that medium. They said, listen, I'm here, I'm all right. Guess who I've met up with? You're going to love it when you're here, but you're not coming for a few more years yet. So enjoy what you're doing there first, and we'll see you when you get here. And that's it. So that's the analogy I like to look at on that as well. But here's one thing as well, just following on from that great question, Kerry. When it comes to people that are in, let me say in a polite way if I can, but maybe in a vegetative state, perhaps on a life support machine, do you believe that 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 person that is on that life support machine can actually connect and communicate? And the reason I ask is because of one or two experiences that I've had, and I read for a little. I read for a little lady. I read for a lady. Thank you, Gary. I read for a lady a few weeks ago, or a group of ladies, and within that group, there was somebody that was coming through, and this lady says, "She goes, Craig, I understand what you're saying, and a couple of other things." She goes, "Yeah, that would make sense." She goes, "But I've got to tell you uh, that he hasn't passed. He's still here." I went, "Hang on a second." I went, "No." I said, I know I'm connected to the spirit world when I'm working. I don't believe I'm working on a psychic vibration here, or that, because of course when we're working, as the saying goes, every medium is a psychic, etc. So you do sometimes pick up on that energy for how quick it happens. So I thought, am I doing that anyway? As I started working, again describing him, his personality, and then towards the end, I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm not going to go too much further with this, but," I said, "he's just put this name into my mind, or I'm aware of this name that's in my mind." And she said, "That's his name." So I'll put that out there and leave it with you guys, and tell me what your thoughts are. Because I know some people are probably thinking, no, because he hadn't gone yet. He was still there. The body was still ticking. But you guys tell me. And this is the great thing about this, by the way, is that even though we all have our own thoughts on this, maybe, we don't really know the true answer until we get there ourselves, do we? That's the great thing. So let me know what you think. um, yes, I do believe that in a vegetative state, because hearing is still active. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. So, but everybody else that's on, please let me know what your thoughts are, because for me, it's such a great part of what we do. It's a great subject to talk about, that can then, of course, lead on to loads of other things. So yes, Keels, good evening. How are you doing? Lovely to see you. You're looking very well in that photo, by the way. Happy New Year to you. It's been a little while since I've seen you. I think it was September last year. Was it September? I don't know why I'm saying September. I can't remember when I saw you. But I hope you're well, lovely. Maribel, hello to you. Love that name. Uh, well, I was going to say hello from Larida. Am I saying that correctly? Larida, yeah, fabulous. I've no idea where that is. Forgive me. It's where? Sorry. Oh, Texas. Fabulous. I was going to say, I don't. My geography is not brilliant. I'm okay, but I'm not amazing. So, Louise Blake. Good evening. Oh, look at that horse, beautiful. Have you ever got a reading but no idea who it's for? Do you just hold on to that or look for them? If so, how? Um, so and where? So I've got a reading but no idea who it's for. Okay. If so, just on that, I'll go into this example in a second, Louise. But do you mean when you're working from the platform, like doing a demonstration? So if you can just let me know with that. But while I'm waiting for that, one thing I will say is on that subject. Excuse me. So again, quite a few years ago, when I was still living in the Midlands, I was sat in a coffee shop with one of my mates, and we'd just been to the gym and everything. And anyway, there's probably about 10, 15 people in this coffee shop, including us. And all of a sudden, I just became aware of this gentleman from the spirit world. And all I got was that his name was Mr. Llewellyn. That was what came into my mind. I thought, okay. So I said to my mate Stu, I said, "Would you understand a gentleman by this name?" He's kind of like, with the whole sort of thing of mediums and the other side and stuff. Although he's seen me work many times before, but anyway, he made a phone call. He went, "No, Mum doesn't know," or anything like that. So I'm like, okay. So I just left it. I thought, I'm not playing Long Island medium tonight, going around all the people in the coffee shop and asking. So I just left it. I got home a few hours later, and I was just walking down the stairs, and my mum and dad were just following me. And I said to my dad, I went, "Maurice, I went, do you know of somebody by the surname of Llewellyn in the spirit world?" And of course, these were kind of the early days of my mediumship in my development. I was still doing a normal job as well as developing myself. And my dad actually said, well, I won't repeat what my dad said to me because it was a little bit colourful, but he just said, "Nah, shut up." So he sat down and we were chatting away. He went, "While you were out this morning," he said, "me and your mum were talking." So I was talking about my old days of being at school and things like this. and he said I was talking about my old one of my old teachers, and he said his name was Mr. Llewellyn. I went, okay. I said, that might be his way of just saying that he heard you and that he's saying hello. He said, well, does that mean he's gone, like he's dead? I went, this sounds really bad, but I hope so, because I'm very much aware of him. Anyway, a few other things came through, so yeah, he understood. No, not working, just went, yeah. So in that instance, then I thought it might have been, hence why that came into my mind. Yeah, so that was a one-off occasion, if you like. But there's been a couple of times that I've sort of become aware of somebody, yes. But I have to say, what it comes down to is it comes down to discipline as well within our mediumship. We have to sort of like say to the spirit world, no, wrong place, wrong time, not yet. When the time's right, or when that person sat in front of me, then absolutely. But for me, it's about the discipline as well. But yeah, it can happen. It has happened, definitely. So, and I think it's just about how you go about it. I'm not one of these. I'm not a medium that would sort of just approach somebody to say, "Oh, do you understand this or that?" What I would do is make a mental note. If I became aware of anything, I would make a mental note or jot something down, again with the date and the time, because you just never know. You just never know when something may come back up as well. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. But again, great question. So keep firing them at me, everybody. Keep firing them. It's great. I love it. All good. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. If by the way, if I do become aware of the spirit world, then I will go with it. By the way, everybody. But I don't know. I just got the feeling. I even messaged Richard this morning saying I'm just kind of sensing like let's just go with the questions and we'll see what happens. Because I also think as well for me the messages I always say are the icing on top of the cake. But I very much believe that when we're talking about the subject matter with the questions, I just think everybody can take something away from it as well. So, uh, Limo, my daughter claims not to believe in spirituality anymore, but I'm just waiting for it to come back up on my screen, everybody. So I'm not pausing for. Um, I give shout out to how do I let her keep her gifts? And what was that last part, Richard? Uh, the thing, yeah, no, that's okay. It comes up and then it goes off a little bit, but so what I would say to you is, um, so for me, again, and remember everybody, this is my take on this. This isn't gospel. I always take away the word gift and I put ability in because I think it's an ability we all have. And I'm not saying an ability to connect to the spirit world and be a medium, but certainly the ability to be aware of the energy of it, if you like. I do feel that we can sit in that energy. So that's why I say that. But also, I suppose it is a gift in a way because you communicate with people that have gone and have passed. I suppose to some people, especially those people that seem from you, it is a gift. So anyway, that's another one. But excuse me, what I would say to you, Lima, is you have to remember that this is your daughter's journey. So I wouldn't, I certainly, as you quite rightly say, not to push her because it's got to be something that one she wants to do and that she's comfortable with. But what I would say to you is that those abilities will never go. They'll be there. I suppose really, it's again another analogy that I tend to use quite a lot when I teach is I did martial arts for years. Effectively, I still do. I don't do it in the dojo. I just do it in my own gym. So I still practice. But for me, even though I spent maybe a year, 18 months out of the dojo, probably longer actually because of lockdown. Even though I spent all that time out of the dojo, I went back in. I might have been a bit rusty, but give me half an hour and it's there again. The knowledge is there. So for me, it's not something that would ever be lost. it's always something that will be, because, you know, again, I only spoke to a lady just the other night, funnily enough, in a private reading, who took a little bit of a break, out of from the mediumship world, to concentrate on other things in her life, but then has come back to it because the time is now right for her. So that's what I would say there. And I'm just going to wait for that so she could speak to spirits. One helped her cheat her test. I, I question that. I question that, because I don't think the spirit world would ever help you cheat to do anything. Because if they were going to help you to cheat to do pass a test, why can't they cheat and give us the numbers on the lottery? That's the one thing, or to win a race at the in the bookies and things like that. So for me, that, I would say, is just her own. I won't say intuition. That's just her own intelligence of whatever that test was about. That's what I would say. Because one thing you've got to remember as well is, you know, I've heard people say in the past, oh, the spirit will tell me to do this and they told me to do that. I don't think the spirit world will tell you to do really anything. You know, this is your life. This is what, you know. This is our journey. They can inspire us, absolutely. I don't think they would tell you what to do, and certainly to cheat a test. That's just my take on it, of course. But remember, I've not had that experience. The one thing I have had from the spirit world is where they've helped me get out of a bit of a tricky situation, which happened a few years ago. So I think if it's to help you, as in like a physical sense, then I think that they would certainly be there. But, you know, remember, we go through life and we have our own experiences, and we have our own journey. So, you know, the spirit world are going to be a part of it, because when our loved ones pass, they want to still be a part of that journey. But of course, they want to inspire us still. So that's what I would say with that, definitely. But it'd be cool. It'd be absolutely cool. So if that happens. So yeah, there we go. Let's go for the next one. Any more? I'm loving these questions, by the way, folks. So, Claire, good evening, Claire from I call it Costa del Knock in the Midlands. Hope you and the family are well, Claire. Peter, hello to you. Nice to see you. Um, excuse me, everybody. So yes, that's my take on that anyway. But again, remember, everybody, you know, even though I'm sort of putting my thoughts across on these questions, you know, they're not gospel. You know, just take it as you will. Gina Ebrel, good evening. Why do some family members come through but some never do? Great question. Again, the honest answer is I don't know. As I always say, we don't know all the answers. I jokingly say there might be, because I don't want to talk to you, but I'm joking when I say that. So please don't take that illiterate, by the way, or literally. I read for a lady, again going back a few years, back in the Midlands. She sat there and you know, she had a lovely reading right from start to finish. Her dad, he owned that reading. He was the one that was doing all the talking. There was a couple of people that tried to get him, but he was like, no, this is my time with my daughter. And at the end of it, she sat back and she sat there and she said, thank you very much for that. She goes, I've waited 29 years for my dad to come through. She goes, I've been to see so many other mediums. She goes, it's the first time he's come through, and it's you that's done that for me. And I was like, no, that's him. I've just listened. So for me, the other thing is as well, it could be that, you know, it might be it's the medium that isn't the right, it's not the right medium perhaps to deliver that message. That could be one thing. That's just a theory, by the way. That's just a sort of thought put out there. It might be that there's nothing that's important for them to say, because remember, when you go see a medium, whether it's a medium from the platform or in a one-to-one, what you've got to remember is that I very much believe that you, as the sitter, are going to hear from the people that you need to hear from, and you're going to get the message that you need, not necessarily the person or people you wish to hear from. Hopefully you do, of course, naturally you do, but there's no guarantees. But I very much believe that you'll get what you need from that sitting. So that's what I would say with that as well. So yeah, but again, there's so many different ways of looking at that, because some people might say, blimey, it's taken 30, 40 years for a loved one to come through. You know, have they been off and gone living another life somewhere, you know, reincarnation? So that kind of opens up that window and that subject matter as well, which I find fascinating also. But yeah, so that's what I would say on that. But again, if anybody else has got any thoughts on it, fire away, because this is what this platform is for, everybody. It's to share. So yeah, but great question, Gina. Great question. So yeah, but again, anybody else's thoughts, let me know. Millie B, I'm loving that hair. Loving that purple hair that you're rocking there. It's fabulous. But hello, Millie B. Nice to see you with us. Sam, good evening. Sam Perks, another wonderful medium. Welcome. And thank you for joining us. I don't know if is Sam on this channel? Has he done things on this channel? Yeah, yeah, I thought he would have. Because I know Sam does very well. Craig, now, is that an eagle on your shoulder? Brilliant. Mum, I think he means mum's mum, maybe, I don't know. Once it comes back up. No, I can't see it. It's gone off my screen. Blimey. so, um, so you see, the yeah, I agree absolutely. It was meant to be. Yeah, definitely. You know, things. So many. I There's so many different ways I can sort of go with this, you see, because for me, I know it's not necessarily a question. It's more of, you know, a sharing a story, which is brilliant. Because, of course, going back on to what we were talking about earlier on. And thank you for sharing that, by the way, Craig. I appreciate that. You know, there are so many people, and I only watched just a very small documentary the other night of a lady, and she was in a coma. She was in a coma state, and for a short while, and she described everything that happened. She was able to see people that were sat around her, what they were saying, what they were doing, and all of this. And then anyway, she never passed. She did make a full recovery. She came back, and and for me, yeah, I believe in it. I really do. It's almost as though, for me, I look at that, and again, I don't know what other people's thoughts will be on it, but I look at that and I just think, you know what, that will be your mom. You know, maybe she's in a coma state, but she's sort of doing the rounds and, like, you know, sort of seeing what's happening, watching people, and then all of a sudden realizing you're there. It's like, right, hang on, I need to go and talk to him now. That's the way I take that. That's the way I would see that again. But whatever other people's thoughts are, do tell me. Let me know. Excuse me. But yeah, thank you for sharing. I love that eagle. That's brilliant. That is. So yeah, again, everybody keep firing those questions. I know we may not, if we've got that many, we may not. Yeah, brilliant. I know we may not get through them all, but we can certainly try. We can certainly try, because I'm liking this. I'm liking the interactiveness. So if I don't get to do any message tonight, because if this keeps going like this, I'm well happy for this, because it feels right tonight. But what I will do, everybody, and I'm saying it out now loud, so I'm going to have to stick to it. But I will speak to Richard, and I will arrange another night for me to come on and actually do some messages if I don't do any tonight. So Liz Kennedy, hello to you. I don't see spirit, but I hear them in my head like words popping into my head. How do you work, please? Oh, wicked. So again, remember, everybody works differently. Excuse me. Everybody works differently. So when I say that I can see the spirit world, I can't see them. Wicked, so you're doing spirit art as well. So this is how I get the message. It's brilliant. So yeah, when I say that I see the spirit world, I don't see them like I can sort of see people on my screen like this, or when somebody sat in front of me. I don't hear them like that. But for me, it's very much almost like maybe a daydream, if you like, in my mind. It's probably the best way to describe it. And a lot of the time, it's just a feeling as well. It's almost like the energy that I become aware of. And it's like, right, that feels like that relationship. And all of a sudden, as well. I almost like, if I'm talking about how somebody passes, it's almost like I do a bit of a scan of the body, and it's like, and for example, if I'm talking about pneumonia or lung cancer, I get the lungs, but I see the lungs, I see fluid building up on the lungs, so that's what that tells me. If I get like a bit of a discomfort at the back of my neck there, I know I've got somebody who's had a stroke, and usually it depends what side it is. I can sort of say which side it is as well. So for me, that's generally how I work. But it is almost like a daydream. But then I also see words, or I'll see names, I'll see dates that will pop up into my mind as well. And the way to describe it as well, sometimes it's almost like you've got the evidence that's going across here, but it also sometimes feels like it's an Aldi checkout. It's going that quick. And people, of course, don't always realise how quick the energy is working and how quick the energy is going. And of course, Liz, you'll understand that, being doing your spirit art, of how quick it works, because of course, going into the actual, using that energy to be able to paint, draw, and bring through that art. But that's how I work. And I kind of feel like it's a bit of a vague thing, but that's generally how I see, hear, and feel the spirit world. And I always jokingly say, do you know what? I wished I could see them, hear them, and feel them like somebody was stood in front of me. But one thing I will say as well is, in my mind as well, when I've got, it doesn't happen all of the time, but sometimes it does. In my mind, when I've got a gentleman that steps forward, and I know it's a gentleman that will be like my granddad, a traditional gentleman, shake my hand. All of a sudden, I get that sensation of like, I want to shake his hand. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, hang on, this man had big hands. And then that then leads on to, but hang on a second, this is what he also did for a living. And it leads on to other things. So it's almost like the last piece of evidence then leads on to the next thing. And the other thing as well is, the spirit world have this sort of toolbox, if you like, in our minds. We have these things that are saved up into our mind, our own experiences, our own awarenesses, and that's what the spirit world use, certainly with me. And for example, again, it was a reading that I delivered yesterday to a lady, and I said that when her grandmother came through, and as I was working with her, I said, your grandmother shows me where she lives. And I said, I know there's 3 or 4 houses, one, that are connected, and she's in one of the middle ones. If I come out the house and turn right, I'm walking down. I know within 5 minutes, I've got just a small row of shops. Just before that, I know you've got a park or a field, whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden, I went on to say, I know there's a school nearby as well. I can't see the school, but I know, because I use a lot of remote viewing when I work as well. I love remote viewing, but I know that I can hear the school, because I could hear the children within the energy. And how that came about was because the way that the spirit world worked with me on that one was because it was a similar description as to where my nan and granddad used to live. So it wouldn't have been exactly the same, but it would have been very similar. So because of the similarities between it, it then enabled me to then talk and describe a bit more in depth about where that grandmother used to live. If that makes sense, everybody, anyway. I hope it does. But yeah, so Liz, I hope that answers that question for you. But remember, everybody, and for the mediums that are watching, hopefully you'll agree, we might say we work like this, this, and this, and this, but do you not find that we evolve through our mediumship as well? So we might find that we work in that way, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on, it's almost like elevated. So that's what I say with that. So, but again, everybody, let me know your thoughts. But great question, Liz, great question. And maybe one day I'll get to see you do your spirit art as well, because I do like that. Okay, we'll be back in 2 minutes, everybody. So grab yourselves a drink, and we'll see you back shortly.
Spiritual Psychics TV is hosting our annual recognition of achievements, acknowledging those who dedicate their lives through spiritual acts of kindness. Candidates can register and put themselves forward to be acknowledged. Viewers can also nominate who they feel should be recognized for an achievement. Exclusively broadcasted live on SPTV, with 100% of the public votes being announced, on Saturday the 27th of May from 7:30 p.m. For more information please visit awards.spiritualpsychicstv.online. Spiritual Psychics TV, bringing spiritual people together. My Spirit Life is a free online interactive magazine for those who have an interest in improving their spiritual lives. Authors can upload images, videos, and audio clips to their own articles. The public can place comments, rate the article, and follow the author. All articles are vetted before being published. For more information and to place your own article, please visit myspiritlife.co.uk. Tomorrow night from 8 p.m, SPTV is joined by another guest who will be demonstrating their mediumship abilities by offering free readings to our viewers.
Hello, 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 and welcome back, everybody. It's great to be back once again. So hopefully you've topped up. It is Friday, everybody, by the way. So when I say I hope you've topped up your glasses, I'm hoping it's with a different sort of spirit, because it will be for me later on. I can tell you that, because I have a weekend off now. So yes, Dominique Leiden, hello to you. Thank you for join us. I love that photo on your profile, by the way. Can you please send out love to my friend of 30 years, Mum Wendy, passed away this afternoon at 2:20. Absolutely. You know what? Just by the fact that you've written that and you've thought that, that intention's already gone out anyway. Because for me, everybody, when you have a thought, when you send, so with this, for example, when we talk about the thought of healing and we talk about the thought of sending out that love, just by acknowledging it and saying it, that's for me is setting the intention. So the intention's already gone. So for me, you've already done that anyway. But it's the fact now that we're aware of it, now we're doing it. So obviously it sends out a lot more. So I love it, absolutely love it. So absolutely. But I'm sorry to hear about the passing. And I do hope the transition is a smooth one. And yeah, it's you know what, everybody, sadly, it's the one thing, it's inevitable for all of us. We may not like it, but Gladys, hello to you. But you know, I watched a film called Hook. Jill Reynolds, good evening. No one here, really good to watch. Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. Well, make sure you stick around, Jill, throughout the week, because these guys, they have so much going on. So, yeah, so many different mediums and people that will come on and chat and talk and do their own demonstration. So, yes. But, yeah, very quickly, if anybody's ever watched the film Hook, by the way, with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman in, it's one of my favourite all-time movies. And in there, they talk about death and everything, because of course Peter Pan, the story is you go to Neverland and you never grow up. Don't we all wish that, eh? And in that film there's a quote of along the lines of the greatest adventure is that's left after this is death, because nobody knows anything really, where we go, what we do, and all of that. So yeah, anyway, I'm waffling. Julie Caswell, hello to you. My daughter is having a baby due end of March. Do you think the baby spirit is in its body all the time or pops in and out, similar to how people in a coma come in? Good question. I've not had that one before. I've got to tell you, I've not had that one before. Right, so I have to go on my own sort of thought. One thing I do say, because quite often when I do a demonstration or even a private reading, not all the time, but a lot of the time, there are loved ones who will come through from the spirit world. And as I'm working, I become aware of my nan. My mom's mom, again, the lady I was talking about earlier on, who I never got to meet. And I know when I become aware of my nan, I know there's a child or children that haven't made it to this side of life. And I always then go on to express and say to the person that's sat in front of me, listen, and to everybody else, I very much believe that once we know that we're expecting a child, I very much believe the spirit is born, there's a spirit there, and that's really what I say. So I'm not so sure that it's a spirit that would necessarily go in and out. I don't know. It could well be. Who knows? Who knows? Because you know, often is the case that you know. Here we go. This is what's just coming to my mind. So I'm putting the theory out there, everybody. This is, this is a vehicle, so it's almost like, and I'll tell you where I got this analogy from, because it's from another medium, not mine, but I love it, so I've nicked it. But this is, the body is a car, it's a vehicle. So for many of us out there who don't even have our first car anymore, we don't drive it, we don't really care what happened to it, because the driver, the spirit, got out and carried on. So that's when we pass. So look at it from this perspective, then let's go in the opposite direction. So what happens then when a child that we know is growing, inside the womb there, ready to be born into a loving family? How about we look at it from a similar perspective? So, not that I'm calling a baby a car or a vehicle, by the way, everybody, just so as I can make that point there. But you imagine you've gone and put yourself in ordering for a brand new vehicle, whatever vehicle it might be, and then that order's happened, and they've told you, right, it'll be ready. Pay for that now. 9 months, it's here, done. So all of a sudden you go along that day, brilliant. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. And and all of a sudden you see it, and then you get in, and then you start living your best life in that car. So it could well be, who knows? Like I say, I'm maybe really, really stretching it out there now, but it might be, who knows? That's my thought on that. Anyway, that's or not my thought, but it's certainly a theory again. So Julie, maybe you've opened up my mind. I've got to tell you, you've opened up my mind, but there you go. Good question there. I don't know what other people's thoughts are, by the way. If anybody else has got any thoughts on that, do let us know, because it'd be very interesting to see. Be very interesting to see. Because remember as well, that there are so many people, so many mediums that have different experiences and work in different ways. Bex Louise, good evening. Do you physically hear spirit in the same way you hear a person talking to you in that that's in the room? I have things that pop into my head in answer to questions. I may ask, but I don't know if that's me or a message. I have seen spirit in the past and always been very spiritual. So the answer is no, I don't hear them like I can hear you, or that somebody's in the room anyway. There has been the odd occasion, though, where I've thought or I believe that somebody's called my name out. I'm like, huh? And even Wayne, my hubby, we've like, hang on, did you just shout me? No, I thought you shouted me. It's like, oh, okay, maybe. So I do believe that it can happen, but I don't believe when I'm working, because don't forget as well, as mediums, when we're working, that energy where we're having to sort of like, between us and the spirit world, we're having to sort of lower our frequency, raise our frequency to be able to connect. It takes so much energy to be able to do that, certainly for the spirit world as well, that, if they can do it through almost like a thought process, then it's I would say it's easier for them to do that. That's what I would say on that. So, but yeah, as regards to answering questions that, when you get thoughts into your mind, what I would say to you is, and I say to everybody, just go with your gut instinct, go with your first thought. Do you believe that it was them? Do you believe it was your loved ones? It's only when you start to think about it that you then, like mediumship, and I say this when I teach, when you as the medium, when you're working, when you take your own mind into that message, you're then diluting it, because it's like, hang on a second, you as the medium, you're putting your own mindset into it and you're thinking about it. There's no thinking involved. That's why it should be so natural, that it should just be, right, it's there, this is what I'm aware of, this is what I can see. And there are times, of course, where you might see things and you become aware of things, but it's like, hang on a second, no, I know that what I'm about to say is wrong. Then all of a sudden something else gets put into your mind. So that's the reason why I say to you, Bex, maybe just go with your first thoughts. And also when we put a thought out or an intention to the spirit world, we might ask them a question, but then they're not going to give us an answer like you can ask me, for example. But the way they may answer you is through a different sign, whatever it might be, a song or a smell or something like that. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that kind of answers that. I'm now good at just answering the question. I have to waffle on. Don't know why. I hope it helps anyway, everybody. Apologies if I waffle too much, but it's just I always like. Yeah, I always just like to sort of when I'm sort of explaining it, it's always good, especially when other things come into my mind as well. But for me, it's always good to go down the idea of our own sort of awareness and our own sort of thought process as well. Yeah, Millie B, you're welcome, Julie. No problem at all. I'm just going to wait for your questions. There we go. Can you tell me, Craig, do our loved ones know when we visit their graves and see what we put down? Absolutely, yes, 100%. Again, as I'm sure many mediums on here as well tonight that are watching, I very much believe that certainly from my own perspective as well, there have been times I've read for people, and it only happened. I think it was. I believe it was just before Christmas, one of my final demonstrations of the year, and I said to the lady, I said, "By the way, your mum knows that you've just been and visited her at her place of remembrance," and she went, "Yeah." I went because I keep seeing, and of course, naturally, and again, pointing at the obvious, of course, here, yes, we put flowers down, or lots of us put flowers down, others might put something else down and other things. And she was like, absolutely. I said, and while you were there, you would have seen this. And I told her something. She went, yeah, absolutely, because that was your mum, just let you know she's around. So absolutely, absolutely, Millie, to answer your question, yes, without a shadow of a doubt, definitely. Natasha, hello to you. Welcome. I presume you're from the States with your photo, but hello to you. Excuse me. Vicky Hone. I'm sorry to read this. Sorry to hear that. My son died cot death. I crucified myself as solid every day, 24-hour agony of guilt, 29 years, and I did this. I met a lady who did spirit healing and also a course. Opened me up big time. A few months ago, I had a dream. My baby boy who died definitely visited me. I didn't see his mouth move, even though I saw him and heard words over and over. Turns out my living son needed me. We had been separated. We had been separation. I presume separated. Amazing, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I mean, first of all, I always say that no parent should ever have to bury a child ever, and I think it's I know quite a few people that sadly have lost children in different in different circumstances. But regardless, I'm not a dad. I've got my little nephew, who's the closest thing I'll ever have to being a dad. But and the love I have for him, I can only begin to imagine. I can't begin to imagine. I'm lying to you. I can't begin to imagine what that love is. But I think it's for me when we talk of healing, because I very much believe in spiritual healing. I really do, and again, I know many people that do as well. And I'm just pleased that you're able to find that and find that lady as well. I have to tell you, Vicky, I'm so pleased you met that lady. And they always say that things happen for a reason, and I very much believe that, of course, for yourself, this happened. And it may be as well, it just may be, if you probably have already anyway, but met other people in a similar position as yourself as well. But the fact that you've acknowledged that your baby's visited you is amazing. Because I always say to people, you don't need a medium to tell you that your loved ones are there and around. Yes, you want the validation because it's normal, that's natural. But when I hear somebody like Vicky, when I hear somebody like this and I see a message like that, for me, that is music to my ears. Because you are acknowledging your son. Just because he's not here anymore in the physical sense, he's still around and he'll still be there. And one day when it's your turn and your time to pass, he will greet you with open arms, as our other loved ones will as well. So yes, but it's sad to read that, but it's also beautiful in the same sense of reading about the healing as well. It really is. It really is. So yeah, there we go. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Brittany Vic, hello from the US. Hello to you. Brittany, whereabouts in the States? I love America. I love America. Ian Johnson, good evening. Yes, all well here. Thank you. Hope you are as well. Hope you're keeping well and all ready for a great weekend, whatever you're up to. So, yes. Stacey Fernan. I love that photo. I love Christmas, though. I am a kid at Christmas. I asked a medium last week if you can block your dreams. They advised me what to do. I followed this advice. Now I am having crazy dreams. Is there a way to control your dreams? Here's the thing. I don't know if there is a way to control your dreams, but what I would say to you is there are certainly ways that you can prepare yourself before you go to sleep, because lots of people, of course, are on these things before they go to bed, and I don't always think that that helps. And I've tried to get into a routine. I have got myself into a routine now where before bed in like a normal week, a normal evening, if you like, if I'm not out and about and whatnot, I always like to read for half an hour, because that sort of stills my mind, that quiets the mind down. But you know what? The one thing I would say to you there is, this is just my take on this. I don't know, but something you can do, because Richard and I were just talking about there, you know, when we reach out to our loved ones, we ask them to be there for us. For me, why not ask them in this instance, you know, so, you know, a loved one that you trust there and love there in the spirit world, Stacey, you know, if that was me, and things like that were happening, I'd say to my granddad, like, oh, come on, granddad, do me a favour, get rid of these things for me. I don't really want another dream like that again. And just put that intention there. But one thing I always say to people is don't make I don't mean like a song and dance about it. There's another word for it, so as that I can be, because I don't want to come across thingy. I want to come across polite about it. But don't make a big thing about it, if you like, you know. So instead of talking about it constantly, if you are that, as you may not be, but you know, instead of talking about it, just say, right, now, do you know what? I'm going to get to bed tonight and I'm going to either dream about nice things, or I'm going to dream about my loved ones, or I'm just not going to dream at all and I'm going to sleep. So that's what I would say with that. But of course, I'm not a dream expert or a sleep expert at all. They're the things that I would do anyway. Certainly reading to quieten the mind down, and make sure you're not on the phone or anything like that either. Oh, there you go, Richard. Can I hear you, by the way, Richard? Oh, so Richard's just saying to cut out caffeine as well, at least an hour before you go to bed. Do you know what? Usually towards the end of a, because I have my fair share of, you know, 2 or 3 coffees maybe during the day, sometimes. But when I come to the end of an evening, because that is a good point actually, but come to the end of an evening, and I'm usually drinking like some herbal tea, like chamomile or something, green tea. You know, that always, or a what? Sorry. Half a pint of water, is the other thing as well there, Richard saying. So try it. But I hope it helps, Stacey. I really do. I hope it helps. Matt, good evening. Hello to you. Nice to see you with us. Yes. Say again, sorry. Oh, right. Bless, bless. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Matt. Richard's asked me to say send love to Kirsty and everybody. Ah, right. Oh, so Matt and Kirsty are on. So for everybody that's watching, because I keep forgetting, no, you like can't hear Richard, so you probably think who's he talking to? I can hear somebody, literally. So Matt and Kirsty are on the channel on Monday nights. What time is it, Richard? So they're live at 8 o'clock, on the page here. So again, make sure you tune in, because as I said at the start, everyone, SPTV has some brilliant people on here. So mediums, healers, everybody. So make sure you join in. Julie, I've had to cut out caffeine completely. So Julie, what? Absolutely. There you go. There you go. So Terry Louise, hello to you. We do that sometimes with VIPs, Craig. We have Zoom nights and chats. Do you know what? I love it. I do. I did. one thing I started doing last year, and the first time I was like, oh, do I don't know, but I'll do it. So I did it, and I've started doing now so far once a month, and they fill up quickly. Are 15-person Zoom events, and I love them. Absolutely love them. I've done obviously other Zoom events as well before, but the 15-person ones are just nice because it's an intimate group setting, and it gives people the opportunity to, of course, experience what it's all about, and for a lot of people as well. First of all, on Zoom online, so they haven't got to go anywhere virtually, and also for maybe people that are new to it, if there's just a small amount of number or a small number of people there, generally they're a little bit more comfortable as well. That's the other thing. I think they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant, definitely. You're welcome, Stacey. My pleasure. I still love that photo, by the way, of Santa with the girls there. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think there's a boy there as well, so I probably should just say children. Keep myself safe. Louise Blake, a dream catcher worked for me. Don't know if it was mind over matter, but worth a try. I knew when it needed to be dusted. If it wasn't dusted, dreams came back. As I say, who knows? But one food, just absolutely. Funnily enough, I've got one in our bedroom as well. Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly, there you go, Stacey. There's another option for you. I don't know where you are based, Stacey, but usually in lots of towns you tend to find that there are like spiritual shops and things like that as well, if not online, absolutely. But there's a good shout there, Louise. Actually, I never thought of that. See, this is why these nights are great, because even us as people that are on here, we don't think of everything, or not everything comes to our mind. So it's always good to have other people that are on board sharing the time with us as well. So, Julie goes, well, if I drank half a pint of water before bed, it would stop me dreaming. I'd be up and down to the loo. Well, that's one theory of looking at it, absolutely. I think I always, so, oh, no, no. Oh. So apparently, while we're sleeping, everybody, so I'm learning now. I'm learning new stuff now. But while we're asleep, we lose either a pint or 2 pints. Hence why when we wake up in the morning and we need a drink, first thing we go for is the caffeine. Actually, something I do every morning. I actually have lemon water. So I cut a lemon and freshly squeeze some of the fresh lemon into a glass, and I actually have that as my first drink of the day. So like that, blimey, 200 milliliters of water we lose. So yeah, there we go, quite a lot. So there you go, everyone. There you go. So blimey. Oh, I agree. Oh, go on, we'll do one more. I'm losing track of time here, everybody. Richard's saying, "Are we done? We've got to round up now." So, but I've just said we'll do one more. We'll do one more question, because you never know. You never know. That one question might mean everything. Gina Ebril, another question. Is it true that your loved ones are passing, a family member that has passed comes to help them? Absolutely. So, again, this definitely happened yesterday. There was a lady, well, two ladies I read for, and I said to the lady, because I believe it was her parents that were coming through, if I remember correctly, and I said to the lady, I went, "Your dad passed before your mom did." And again, she validated it and said, "Yeah, I went because the way they're making me feel is that your dad was there to collect your mom, your dad was there to meet your mom." So I can absolutely guarantee it. And a few years ago, I another little documentary type thing I watched. There was a young lady who was only in her 20s. She was involved in quite a horrific car accident. And even though she had cuts and bruises in the top part of her body, her legs were just completely mangled. And so she spent quite a lot of time in hospital. Her mum was sat next to her for a lot of that time, of course. And one day she was sat up in the bed, and this is what I remember anyway. And she turned around to her mom. And she said, "Granddad's here." And bearing in mind her granddad had passed, and she said, and the granddad was saying to her, "Right, come on, it's time to go. Let's go." And almost like put his hand out to sort of say, "Come on, it's time to go." And the mom was saying, "You tell him to leave you here and go back to where he's come from. He's not taking you." And she actually made a full recovery. But I just thought, blimey, again, it validates that our loved ones are very much there, ready to meet us when that time comes. So yeah, absolutely, Gina. What a question. Actually, I'm glad I answered that now, because it's a nice question to finish on. So yeah, thank you for asking that, Gina. So yes, everybody. Say again. Huh? That's okay. No, go for it. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. We can do that one, absolutely. So, Richard, Joanne Prue, hello to you. Joanne, Richard has just asked me to apologise to you because he missed this one. So yeah, no, we'll go with this one. So, what's your feelings on the baby's age after passing? I don't believe the age, of course, in the physical sense, because remember they don't have the physical body that they take with them to the spirit world, but spiritually they will grow and evolve. So when somebody loses a child, and let's say in 10 years, 10 years after that passing, or the loss of a child, that parent then goes to sit with a medium, I don't believe, this is just my take on it anyway, again, other mediums may be different, but this is just my take and the way that it works for me. I don't believe that that baby would then come through as a 10-year-old, because it's not a way that we can recognize them. Um, the way that it would happen for me is, and the way that it generally happens is, um, I'll say, like I did yesterday, I'll say to somebody, I know that there's a child that didn't make it to this side of life, but I know I'm not just talking a couple of years ago. I know that I'm going way back, because I'm seeing it as almost like in black and white. So when I see it in that way, I know I'm going back in time. But it doesn't mean to say that our child isn't evolving either. So I do believe that as we all do, we all evolve. But when they come through to maybe connect, to make you aware that they're around, they'll come through, for me anyway, in an awareness that you would recognize them at the time that they passed or never made it here. So that's my thoughts on that. Definitely, that's my thoughts on that. But there's a film, and I'm trying to think of it. Summit Heaven, and it's based on a true story. And in a nutshell, it's basically about a gentleman who is the reverend in the village where they live, the small town, but he's also a firefighter, and his son, at one point, heaven is real. There you go. Heaven is real. Joanne, maybe if you haven't watched it already, that might be worth a little watch, because I kind of don't want to spoil it for you. But in a nutshell, there is that family of the firefighter that I've just described. The little boy, remember, yeah, that that's it. Yeah, that little boy passed. He did come back. He made a full recovery with what was wrong with him. But what and he was the eldest out of him and his sister that were in the physical sense. And a few months after he made a full recovery, he said to his mum one afternoon, "I have a sister." And she turned around and said, "Well, of course you do. She sat over there." And he went, "No, I have a sister in heaven." Now, of course, bearing in mind he's only like, maybe 7 years old, and the mom looked at the dad as if to say, "How does he know that?" And she asked him, and he said, "Well, I met her. I met her in heaven when I died." So that, I'll give you that little thing there. But if so, heaven is real. I'm sure it's called Heaven is Real. If you haven't watched it, yeah, it's worth a little look, because it's brilliant. So they're my thoughts, Joanne. So I hope that helps you in some way. So again, I have to say again, that was a nice question to finish on. But Ladies, gents, everybody that's been watching, thank you for joining me. That time has just flown by. I will speak to Richard, and we will get another date booked in soon for when I'm back and I'm able to get on. But please, as always, remember, Bob, I hope you enjoyed your first time, by the way. But please, everybody, remember to keep your eye, make sure you like, you subscribe on Facebook, YouTube for SPTV, because these guys do work hard. And so much going on every day. And also remember, and I'm putting it out there now, that the SPTV Awards 2023 are happening. So there will be more out on that. There'll be adverts out on that as well. But it's the opportunity where you're able to put forward nominations and nominate, I think, yourselves, is what Richard was saying to me earlier on, and all sorts of things. There's loads to be able to nominate. So, and it is all selected and chosen by the public as well. So it's completely fair. But for me, everybody, I don't know if Richard's going to put it up or not, but I will do. I'll just share it out there anyway. But if anybody wants to connect to me on Facebook, Twitter, I don't really use Twitter actually, but or what's the other one? Instagram, then by all means feel free. But I'll be back out on the road very, very soon. I'm still doing private readings at the moment, but I'm out on the road from the 1st of February. And the first lot of events have sold out, so I'm excited about that. So yes, if you want to know more about me, head to the website, all the W's, craig-morris.co.uk. You can find everything you need to know on there. You can subscribe to my free monthly newsletter as well. And am I allowed to do a little push on the book? And you probably see my little mug just there. But yeah, my first book was published 2 years this year. But so what, 18 months ago maybe. Yeah, here for a good time, not a long time, because that's my motto in life, friends. We're here for a good time, not a long time. Enjoy, eat the cake, drink the wine, and drink the beer occasionally, not carrying the coffee. If you want a copy of that, you can only get it on my website. You can't get it anywhere else. So if you want a copy, go there. I'll happily sign it, and yeah, it will be out in the post when you order. So yeah, thank you very much. But a big thank you to Richard as well, who's been doing all the tech side of things behind the scenes that not everybody gets to see. But as always, everybody, have a great weekend, and I do hope I get to see some of you out on the road. And if I do, make sure you come and say hello. But until that time, keep smiling, be happy, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Richard, thank you very much.